From the policy-making point of view, which policies do you think should be implemented in order to boost the research in the fields that you mentioned, or to try to mitigate the risks stemming from the challenges that you mentioned, that you outlined before?
I can be very concise there, because I will read something that I said at the beginning. For me, the answer to your question is sustain science and research and art, I would add, along the three main pathways: curiosity, freedom, and ethics. I never forget ethics, because science has suffered too much from misuse. Um, you say how to mitigate the risks. Well, ethics is just that. If the scientific community works coherently and collectively towards common aims, it should be able to control itself without imposing anything from outside. But my only answer there is that science and art and research, which is of course common to both, uh, should be one of the main actions to for the welfare of society, for the wellness of society.
I see. We might also think about new funding instruments aiming to create research projects which are more interdisciplinary, which are transdisciplinary, as you mentioned before.
In my view, this will be a growing need in the coming years. Not in this case, we don't have to go to 2050. Probably it will be in the rise of 2020. There should be change about the commission to this. And another thing, look, let me give you an example. It will take time, but then you can censor me.
No problem.
In my institute, there is an important group of pandemics, which is led by Alessandro Espignani. They studied, for example, the big success case of theirs was H1N1, the big pandemics, influenza pandemics of 2009. And they studied, not only they were able to predict in an amazingly precise way the time behavior of the contagion and the pandemics, but they were also able to provide scenarios to understand what would be necessary to do to control the pandemics. And let me give only two among these scenarios. Since the contagion is mostly developed and transmitted through air transportation, because in airplanes people live for hours all together in a closed ambient where the air is filtered but not to the diameter of the virus. One hypothesis could be, let's shut down all the airports, close all the airports. Well, aside for the economic consequences that would have, which will be probably more disastrous than the pandemics itself, the interesting feature is that if you imagine to shut down all the the principal airports in the world, it would simply delay the peak of the contagion one day, which is irrelevant. Yeah. The strategy, which turns out to be more efficient on the other hand, is the following. If you are a rich country and you have a vaccine, use only 85% of that vaccine and the remaining 15% distribute to poor countries surrounding you. And this is a logic. Instead of vaccinating an individual in the network, you vaccinate the network, you vaccinate the system.
Yeah.
This is like a parabola. Let me now go to the point that I wanted to make. In my country, politicians are always complaining because Italy is contributing to the funds for research of Europe 15%. And our return is about 8%. Now, you can question whether this is too little or not. But what I'm sure about is that a fraction of that should necessarily go to countries which don't have the resources that we have. I will not mention countries not to be politically incorrect, but there are countries in Europe in which science needs to be held. And we need to do it because then the whole network of scientists, the whole community of scientists will be stronger.